Thanks for having me. The Western double standards, as we've always have heard, is embodied now clearly in the Middle East following the 23 September, and we found that the West has a capability of the emerging of Al-Qaeda and later Al-Golani to be the head of the Syria, and without have a representative in the rest of the opposition factions or representative of the Syrian people, but it is only a government of one color based on Ikhwani ideology. This isn't the issue, but since the first day you started to execute an absolute Islamic agenda by ordering the Minister of
So
Defense.
do you read it as an Islamic agenda?
True. Up till now, the movement of the alternative government formed by Al-Jolani is a government that repeated in Taliban's experiment in Afghanistan by 100%. I was talking about the assignment of Minister of Justice to execute the Sharia, the Islamic Sharia, and to prevent the songs through the state Syrian TV. That therefore we are witnessing a landscape of several troubles, and the Syrian factions would wonder and inquire about their shares in the government, and the attempts of HTC to contain all the authority and the democratic Syrian of the last resort of Kurdish people. So unfortunately, following the romantic promises in the early hours of the toppling Al-Assad regime, we have an issue of emerging the Islamists to the rule. The first state that belong to Al-Qaeda and is coming.
Okay, sir. What are the U.S. From your own perspective, of course, the narrative? What is the U.S. vision for Syria's political transition, especially, sir, in light of course, as outlined by Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and of course, sir, in light of the challenges and the key challenges that are facing the United States? Adding to that the transitional period of U.S. President Joe Biden, which is moving on to a new U.S. president, which is U.S.-elect Donald Trump.
America will addresses the current situation in Syria by the following. What is left to the President Biden is only 2 months. Either is a new government in Syria or liquid in the current one. And all the inclusions of the Syrian society to conclude or to join the government with respect to the transitional period that will be ended in March 2025. My perspective is going to be extended to the end of 2025, because this period isn't enough to tackle all the matters for reinstitute the Syrian state. And even Donald Trump, we do not know what is the vision of the America regarding the new Syria, but the policy of Donald Trump regarding the shift that took place in Damascus aren't that clear. In order to analyze the American perspective for the Syrian institution, ultimately Blinken will try to restructure the Syrian government to contain new factions, minorities, and new components of the Syrian people, and it would leave the transitional period to be extended until the end of the 2025, and Trump will take over these files.
Sir, what are the key factors that are driving the increase of Israeli attacks on Syrian military infrastructure, and is Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, betting on US President Donald Trump?
In fact, the airstrikes made by Israel that has an agenda that is in a very Israeli context that we cannot read. By rejecting Russian arms in the region, but rather the whole world, but destroying the military infrastructure is an American demand before Israel is to get rid of all the Russian military storage. Secondly, Israel has a good communication with the Syrian factions, but a fear of the future to fall these arms into the hands of the faction that has no problems with Israel. Maybe they're not now, but Israel's fear of degeneration of new factions. Therefore, securing itself by destroying the infrastructure of the military. Thirdly, the US American arms, by their interest to dismantle or dismanize the Syria for the American company. Benjamin Netanyahu has a very historical relations before the Trump to take over, or even Benjamin Netanyahu to be in Israel. That is upon when they were living in New York and in the United States of America, and certainly by all the CEs would help Trump to reach the president of the United States of America.
Sir, how do you read the importance of Israeli actions in the buffer zone near the occupied Golan Heights?
There are pretexts. Even Syria by Hafiz and Bashar al-Assad never pose any threat to Syria, to Israel. But even upon the trial of regaining Golan Heights, never launched any missiles to Israel. Lately, in reality, Israel is moving according to the maps of the French occupation in Syria in the 20s, when they assigned the Republic of Jerusalem, the southern of Syria, that tried to form a government for the Kurdish and the eastern north of Syria, in Qnews and Damascus, that are the borders of Jerusalem made by France in the early 20s, and the Israeli bombardment to the branches of the French army in Al-Hasaka and Al-Raqqa are upon the French occupation in the 20s, trying to launch in the Republic of the Syrian island and giving a temporary rule for the Kurdish. Before the last war of 11 days, the foreign minister of Israel stated upon taking over, either Israel would protect the rights of the Druze and the Kurdish in Syria.